Today we're making sofrito. Hope you like my little intro. I'm Marta. This is Sense and Edibility, my online culinary school where I teach you everything you need to know about cooking, baking, and cocktail making. Today's class is sofrito, and the reason why I'm being obnoxious with this bowl of culantro or recao is because this is the main ingredient in Puerto Rican sofrito. Once a week, I set aside time to prep things like sofrito, and I knock it out. I just make a big batch of the stuff and I keep it throughout the week. Sometimes it lasts more than a week, sometimes it doesn't. So that's why you are getting me in all of my natural glory, no makeup, pajamas, because that's how I do my prep work. Sofrito is a Puerto Rican cooking base that we use to flavor things like beans, stews, soups, or marinate meats like pernil, which is a roasted pork shoulder. If you've never seen culantro growing, it looks like a weed that you would just pluck out of your garden and throw away. One thing to pay close attention to is that the little leaves have tiny thorns on the edge. They are kind of annoying if you rub against them too much. Different names for culantro. Recao is also another name for it. Sawtooth coriander, long coriander, Mexican coriander, nogay, and shadow beni are other names for culantro. You're probably not going to find it in your local grocery store. You find it in a Hispanic Caribbean grocery store. You can also find it in a lot of Asian markets because they use it in Vietnam and Thai food and Laotian food as well. For this recipe, and I'll link the full recipe in the comments below, for this recipe I usually use about 5 to 6 bunches of culantro. To prep it, all you need to do is give it a quick wash in cold water, remove any silt or dirt from it, and you're also going to need to cut off the stem of the culantro leaf. Anything that is dark brown or woody looking, just remove that and you can toss it. If you are a composter, you can use it for your compost. If you make stews and soups and you use veggie scraps to make your broth, it's a good thing to save. The other main flavor is onion and garlic. Depending on how you cook, you're going to add more or less onion and garlic to suit your taste. I'm a huge fan of onions, so in my sofrito recipe, you're going to notice that I call for 3 large white onions. When I use my sofrito in my savory dishes, I don't have to go through the trouble of peeling and chopping or, pureeing a fresh onion because it's already in my sofrito. That said, if you're not a huge fan of onions, you can reduce the amount of onions you use in your sofrito. I want to get to something that you may not be too familiar with if you're not Puerto Rican or you don't come from a Hispanic Caribbean background. These are ajíes dulce, which just translate to sweet chili peppers. They're not hot. They look very much like Scotch bonnet peppers or habaneros, and please don't mistake this with habaneros or Scotch bonnet because they are nowhere near as fiery and as spicy as they are, and these are not habaneros. And I've seen people confuse the two and end up with very hot sofrito, which is probably very tasty if you're into spicy, but when you're adding them to beans and stuff like that, don't mistake the two. Ajíes dulce look kind of like a tam, but it's green. When it's at its ripest, it's gonna look orangey and yellow. Look for these also in Hispanic Caribbean markets. They're not typically found in mainstream grocery stores. You probably have to go to a Hispanic market to find them. If you can't find ají dulce in your area, use sweet snacking peppers. These are the peppers that come in the little cellophane bag, and you eat these typically with hummus or some kind of dip, like ranch dip. These replace ají dulce very well. They also give some color to your sofrito. So while I don't have to use them because I have ají dulce, I'm going to use them because I want to add some color to my sofrito. So these are going to create little flecks of red and orange in the cooking base, which is just cute, right? What to do if you can't find culantro. This is called coriander. It is a part of the coriander family, but it doesn't have the same flavor. Culantro has an earthy, umami type of flavor to it, whereas cilantro is more bright tasting and almost kind of acidic to me. And of course, there are some of you who are afflicted by that gene that makes cilantro taste like soap, so you are probably cringing right now, but it's okay. Cilantro does not have the same flavor as culantro. Which, by the way, if you are affected by that gene that makes cilantro taste like soap, culantro is a very good replacement in your Mexican food. So think about that. Cilantro I used because it brightens it. If you can't find culantro, cilantro is a great replacement. Grab the same amount of cilantro as you would the culantro, and you just use it just like you would the culantro. This is controversial, but you got to trust me on this because I know what I'm talking about. To mimic the flavor of culantro as closely as possible, mix your cilantro with one bunch of Italian flat leaf parsley. I know, the Puerto Ricans in the house are cringing. It is what it is. If you've never tried it, you can't knock it. Get your 6 bunches of cilantro, add 1 bunch of Italian flat leaf parsley, and it mutes the brightness and the acidity of the cilantro and mimics culantro more than just cilantro alone. Trust me on it. If you try it, let me know in the comment box if it tastes like garbage. I bet it doesn't. Don't be petty and say it does when you know it doesn't. Okay. Another controversial ingredient in my sofrito: manzanilla olives and capers, because they have umami, and that translates into my sofrito as something that people love, but they can't quite figure out what it is about my sofrito that they love. They have no idea that olives and capers have been pulsed into the mix. A lot of people who hate olives and capers are like, you're gonna ruin it. You have to try it. If you're absolutely against it, if it just violates everything you hold dear, you can omit the olives and the capers. But I implore you to try it at least once. So we have all of our ingredients ready to make our sofrito. So let's do it. See how easy that was? I think I have enough sofrito to last me probably about a month. What's great about this recipe is that if you package it in these freezer safe storage bags, you can lay them flat like so in the freezer. When they're frozen solid, you stand them up in, you know, on the side of the freezer, and they take up less space that way. This jar is how I package it when I know I'm going to use it within a week, because as it sits in the refrigerator, it starts to turn a little brown, it starts to become oxidized, and as a result, the color changes. But if you're going to use it straight away, just put it in a bowl just like that. I used to put my sofrito into ice cube trays. So what I recommend is go to the dollar store, buy, you know, a few ice cube trays, and spoon tablespoonfuls of the sofrito into your ice cube trays. Press a piece of plastic wrap or wax paper onto the surface of the sofrito in the ice cube trays and freeze them. Once they're frozen solid, pop the sofrito ice cubes out of the ice cube tray and transfer it into a container or into a larger freezer storage bag, and you have the perfect amount of sofrito for rice or soups or whatever, because it's already measured by the tablespoonful. That's what I used to do when I had the room, but I don't have the room anymore, so I have to, you know, get creative. So that's why I use my quart-size zip-top freezer-safe bags and my mason jars. Like many other Puerto Rican families, mine has their own recipe for sofrito. This recipe is a mixture of my mother's and my husband's grandmother's recipe. I really hope you enjoyed this video on how to make authentic Puerto Rican sofrito, which is a cooking base used in many of our savory dishes, soups, and stews. If you did like it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you can get updates whenever I post a new video. And in the comments, let me know how your family makes sofrito. Do you use culantro or do you use cilantro? Do you add green peppers? Do you not use olives and capers? Don't come for me in the comments over the olives and capers. And if you did do the parsley and cilantro trick, let me know what you think. Was it as horrible as you thought it was? All right, thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me, and don't forget to let me know how you like this. No. Thanks for joining me, and what do I say? How do you say it?
Thanks for joining me, and I hope you come back.
No, that's it. It's good talking to you. Good seeing you. Do I look kind of goofy like this? I don't have any makeup. How do I? Be honest, because my husband will tell me I look good, but I probably don't.